Okay, ladies, we are starting with lesson 137, 138. We'll only be doing 2 lessons today, and your assignment's going to be a little bit different than normal, so please check your assignment. I think yesterday's video there was 2 assignments for Tuesday, 2 of them. Hopefully you figured that out. One had your assignment on it, the other one had the actual video. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing for you and you figured it out. You girls are smart. So, lesson 137, we are going to be learning about multiplying mixed numbers. So if you go ahead and look at page 513, it shows you, it gives us some examples and whatnot there, but I want us to look over here at this particular problem I put up on the board. We're multiplying mixed numbers, but I want you to remember I want you to work on picturing things in your mind, especially fractions. So I did a little bit of work here for you. So if we say 3 times 1/2, what we do is we take that 3 and turn it into a fraction. So 3 over 1 is the same as 3. Then we just simply multiply it out. 3 over 1 times 1 over 2. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. So now we have what kind of a fraction? Improper fraction. So we have to take it, divide 2 into 3, and we end up with what? 1/2. That 1/2 is the same as this little picture I showed you here. Now, we did all that over here. Now let's look at this. 3 times 1/2 is the same as saying 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. So if I have 3 halves, 1, 2, 3 halves, I have 1/2 of another one. It's faster to multiply it out because as you keep developing and doing more and more math, things build up on top of each other. And what you want to learn how to do is how to do the problem. Even though you may be able to figure it in your head, you've got to go through the specific process so that you don't mess up down the line. So let's go ahead and look at the very first practice problem. I'm going to erase this. This over here is lesson 138, so don't worry about that right now. We'll do that here in just a minute. Let's see why you don't do the black, Mr. C. Okay, we're going to do practice problem A. I'm going to try and maybe do all of these with you because lesson 138 is not very long. So I'm going to do all of these with you because your assignment for lesson 137 is you're going to do all of the supplemental problems. You girls have got to get this fractions down. You keep missing how to add fractions, how to multiply fractions, and how to divide fractions. You guys need to go back and look at that lesson. When you get it wrong and you're working on corrections, you need to go back and look at that lesson and remember how to do it. You cannot add or subtract fractions unless they have a common denominator. And it takes a few steps to get a common denominator sometimes. But you go back and look at that lesson so that you will do it correctly. And the same is true here when we are doing this lesson 137 of multiplying a mixed number. So A has 1 1/2 times 1 3/4. Okay. So it takes a little bit of work to do it. I hope you guys can see that. So what we do is we have to turn these fractions into improper fractions and then multiply them. So this is the process. 1 times 2 plus 3. So 3 over 2 is the same as 1 1/2. Remember that picture I just showed you. If you have to go back and look at that beginning of the YouTube video, I did those little pictures where you can see it. So 1 1/2 is the same as 3 halves. Times 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7. 7/4. When we multiply fractions, we do not have to have common denominators. But when you add or subtract them, you do. Get that in your little noggin. So now we just multiply it out. 3 times 7 is 21. 2 times 4 is 8. So now what's the next step? This is a improper fraction. We need to make it into a proper fraction. So we take 8 into 21. How many times is 8 go into 21? It's 8 times 2. That's 16. You'd subtract. You get 5. And the answer is 2 5/8. So what's the answer to this problem here? 2 5/8. Okay? Now, when I go to grade your paper, you had better have this answer right. Because I did it. I see that on your papers where your practice problems are wrong. It shouldn't be that way. I'm doing them with you. Okay. Problem B. 3 1/2 times 1 2/3. I'm going to check and make sure I actually wrote that down right on my paper. Yes, it is. We turn these into improper fractions. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 7 halves times 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 5/3. Now we multiply it out. 7 times 5 is 35. 2 times 3 is 6. This is an improper fraction. We must make it proper. So we take 6 into 35. How many times will 6 go into 35? We start with the 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract. We get 5. Now we turn this into the proper fraction. It's 5 5/6. So 3 1/2 times 1 2/3 is 5 5/6. This answer should be correct on your paper when you hand that in. Okay, let's do C together. As I'm working these on the board on this video, you should be doing it also on your paper. The next one is 3 times 2 1/2. Remember that 3, we have to turn that into a fraction. 3 over 1 is the same as 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 5 over 2. Multiply. Now we can multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 2 is 2. Now we need to make this into a proper fraction. 2 into 15. 2 goes in there 7 times. 2 times 7 is 14. Subtract, you get 1. The answer is 7 1/2. So 3 times 2 1/2 is 7 1/2. I'm going to do one more with you because you're going to be doing 18 of these by yourself, and I want you to go and double check yourself on this lesson. All right, last one is D. 4 times 3 2/3. You have to turn 4 into an improper fraction. What's the improper fraction for 4? It's the same as it was for 3. 4 over 1 times, got to turn this into improper fraction. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Over 3. Got to have the same. Whatever the denominator is up here, you bring that same one down. Don't get confused about making common denominators. Now we multiply out. What do we get? 4 times 11 is 44. 1 times 3 is 3. Now we take 3 into 44. So 3 goes into, now you learn this kind of division way back when, so this should be easy for you. Don't get discombobulated here. 3 goes into 4 one time. 3 times 1 is 3. Subtract, get 1, bring down your 4. How many times does 3 go into 14? It goes in there 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract, you get 2. So now, 3 don't go into there, so we're all done. So your answer here is 14 and 3. I'm sorry. Don't listen to what I say, listen to what I write. 14 and 2/3. So 4 times 3 and 2/3 is 14 and 2/3. Okie dokie. All righty, we're going to bebop over to the next lesson. So go ahead and get ready for that. Okay. Now I'm going to move over here for this one. Well, nope, I'll stay over here. Okay. The next lesson, we're going to learn about coordinating a graph. Now, we're going to do another graph in a couple of days, probably on Thursday, I believe. So I want you to go ahead and we're going to read through this. I want you to follow along as I read, okay? We have solved problems that asked us to locate points on a grid. For example, we located points on a map using a grid. In mathematics, we call a grid, see that bold words, a coordinate graph. The coordinate graph is formed by 2 perpendicular number lines with marks extended to form on the graph, which I've done here over here for you. We locate points on the coordinated graph with 2 numbers. These numbers are called coordinates. The first number tells us how far to move horizontally from the starting point. The second number tells us how far to move vertically. So yeah, horizontal and vertical. Look at the coordinate graph below. The starting point is the point marked with 0. And my graph here does the same, except this graph is exactly like, real similar to the graph that we have into the practice problems. But I want us to go ahead and look at this one here. It says, look at the coordinate graph. The starting point is marked 0. To find the point 4, how do you say that, Mr. Sage? Just 4, 2? 4, 2, we move along the horizontal line to point 2. We move along the horizontal line up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the mark, and on there it's marked as just 4, 2. Now, keep reading here. It says, move to the top of the next line. The name, the location, we need to name the location of point A on that graph, which is up at the top of that graph. So what is that named? It should tell you here in just a moment. Let's read it. We find the number on the horizontal line that is directly under point A. And what is it? 3. That number is 3 and the first number of the location. Then we find the number on the vertical number line that is on level with point A, and that number is 5. So what is those coordinates called? The coordinates for A is 3, 5, okay? Now then, we're going to do the practice problems, and we're going to have to locate what it tells us to locate in A, B, C, and D. So let's look at A. Excuse me, but I got to get to my paper here. So if we look at, it says, what letter names the point of each of these locations? So the first one is under A. What it's asking us to do, it says 3, 2. What letter is marked here for 3, 2? So let's do that. So if it says 3, 2, then the first number is going to be the horizontal. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then up 2, 1, 2. What is the answer? So answer for A is the letter L. All right, the next one that says 5, 3. So let's go over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're supposed to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. And what is the coordinate for those numbers? The letter K, correct. Now, it asks us to tell us, it says write the coordinates of these 2 points. So for C, it says point M. What is the coordinates for point M? Okay, here's M. So how you go? You go 1. Down here you go 1, 2. So the first number is going to be 2. And then we go up 1, 2, 3. So our answer to that will be 2, 3. We always do the horizontal line first. Okay, the next one says point N. Here's N, so we go over 1, 2, 3, and we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that coordinate is 3, 5. Okay, your assignment should have been listed that for lesson 138, we just did the practice problems together, but the only things you have to do in lesson 138, is do problem 6, 7, and 8, which is another one of these type of graphs. And if you want to go ahead and look at that real quick, all you have to do is tell me what those shapes are in that coordinating graph. Now, if you don't know what that shape is called, go to the very, very back of your book. It shows you common shapes in the very, very back of your book, and it can help you get those answers. Okay? All right, girls. And work on any corrections I send you.